Are you looking to launch an equity crowdfunding campaign, also known as a Reg CF style campaign? Because if you are, in today's YouTube video, we're going through all of the major websites and platforms when it comes to equity crowdfunding. So you can go out there, you can make sure you make the right decision going into your campaign, and you can raise capital from the crowd, or you can recapitalize your company. This is an exciting time to be alive. The fact that we can now use crowdfunding as a way to actually bring investors in the door to become a part of our community, partners with us, and also participate in the upside of our startup campaigns as founders, as creators, as inventors. I think you're gonna love today's YouTube video, so let's get into it. Welcome back to this channel. My name is Salvador Brigman. If this is your first time, and on this channel we talk about crowdfunding and ways of raising funding from the crowd. Every single week I also interview a new guest on the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. We're getting kind of the inner workings of their campaign and how they're raising money from the crowd. I am very passionate about this subject ever since I got into the industry in 2012, and I saw the introduction of the Jobs Act, which eventually got enacted circa 2015 and allowed anyone to raise money from the crowd. And that's why equity crowdfunding is gosh darn so important, because this was never allowed before in history. But you can now do what's called general solicitation, and you can get non-accredited investors to become an investor in your startup. So the first platform on the list, and these guys have been leading the charge for a number of years now, is going to be WeFunder.com. So I've done some tutorial videos out there on WeFunder as an investor and also as a creator. This is a platform which is also a public benefit corporation that allows anyone to raise money from the crowd as long as you're a US-based corporation. And for those investors, they can be worldwide in nature, both accredited and non-accredited. In the past year, around 100 million has been raised on WeFunder. If we're just talking about round numbers here. The great thing about WeFunder is that you can raise money for this. If you're in the United States, anyone can do this. It's a US-based equity crowdfunding portal, and it can have investors all over the world. So we've seen a significant amount of funding volume going to campaigns in many different categories, including technology, software, AI-driven tools, also food and beverage, brick and mortar businesses to an extent, and even some film campaigns have raised money on WeFunder.com. The big new thing with WeFunder is that they now have what are called VC funds that are only available to accredited investors, where you can actually invest in the same way like a normal VC would in an early stage company. You can now do that on WeFunder.com, and there are also what are called community rounds, where non-accredited investors can invest alongside accredited investors via a community round. Number two on my list is StartEngine, and StartEngine has raised just shy of 90 million when it comes to equity crowdfunding this past year. They really stand out as one of the equity crowdfunding websites or portals, in my opinion, because they have what's called a secondary marketplace. So when it comes to primary versus a secondary marketplace, when it comes to equity crowdfunding, usually these shares are being issued more so on a primary market basis. What that means is that someone who's investing in an equity crowdfunding offering actually is going to have to wait until a liquidity event in the future in order to cash out their shares. So that could be, for example, an IPO, or that could be someone acquires the company, but they need to wait for some kind of a liquidity event. Versus with a secondary marketplace, there's more liquidity built into that because they can trade their shares with other interested investors. StartEngine also stands out, and they have what's called StartEngine Private, where you can invest in venture-backed companies using Regulation D. I would also say, for those that are not aware, Reg D is really limited to accredited investors. So you're kind of limiting your pool there when it comes to accredited investors versus accredited and non-accredited investors. In addition, I would say that StartEngine, in my opinion, stands out as having more Regulation A+ or Reg A+ campaigns on their platform. I've covered StartEngine a lot on this YouTube channel, so I'm going to link down below to the tutorial I did, which is great for founders, and also another tutorial which is there for investors. Number three on the list is Republic, and I was really thinking about number three because this has been like a place that many other companies have been jockeying for. In the past, I might say, Seed Invest, but they were recently acquired by StartEngine. I want to say Republic, but I will say with an asterisk that Republic has many different asset classes when it comes to their platform. So they don't only specialize in equity crowdfunding, they also specialize in crypto, Web3, tokenization. They also have a VC fund attached to their raising as an offering as well as an option. What I like about Republic is that they have a really slick, clean, clear, and well-designed, in my opinion, user interface. And as someone who really appreciates more the creative side of marketing, I love that about Republic. I think it's very easy as an investor to understand it. I think they have a really good UI on their site. That being said, they're not necessarily as popular as other options out there, but they do make number 3 in my list of equity crowdfunding websites and portals that you should check out. Want to take all the stress out of fulfilling your Kickstarter rewards? Fulfillment is the turnkey solution that puts product delivery on autopilot. The Top Campaigns uses trusted high-tech provider to store, package, and ship their products. Focus on growing your business. Leave shipping to the experts. Don't wait. Get a custom quote from Fulfillment today. Link in the description. So you might be noticing a trend here when it comes to equity crowdfunding is that more people are getting involved in like the VC game and also larger raises using A+. So in terms of the VC game, obviously WeFunder, Start Engine, and also Republic are getting involved in that, having these venture funds. We're also seeing other websites out there like Fundrise that are starting sort of these VC funds or being able to invest in startups. So really interesting. What I want to mention, number 4 in this list is a tiny bit different. That's because I wanted to put Honeycomb Credit as number 4 on this list. So Honeycomb Credit is a great equity crowdfunding or investment crowdfunding website. They've raised a significant amount when it comes to that method. But what I would say is that they're different in that the companies that are raising money are typically using what's called equity crowdfunding debt, or basically they're giving more of like a debt offering or debt instrument in order to raise those funds. So instead of getting equity, you're getting debt repayment. And in addition, this is really hyper focused on local communities. So if you want to invest in a local business or your local business that wants to raise funding, this could be a great option for you if you also want to explore using debt as an instrument in order to do that. I do gotta say that compared to other platforms, they have much more of a vetting process. So you need to be willing to go through an application phase versus with WeFunder, Start Engine, Republic. It's a little bit easier, more of a DIY approach. With Honeycomb Credit, you're going to have to go through more of an application process. And in the way that I think about in terms of debt crowdfunding, they're kind of similar in a sense to Kiva, which if you're not familiar, Kiva is a great option as well, kiva.org, but there are much smaller raises on Kiva. It's much more for social impact and social enterprises. These are a lot of platforms. We even have more to go, but if you really want to understand what you got to do from a step-by-step standpoint in order to raise capital from the crowd, whether you're looking to raise capital for a startup, use equity crowdfunding, or to recapitalize your company, or you just want to get your ideas out there and you want to explore this, you definitely should go and check out my free course on equity crowdfunding, which shares with you some of the tools, tactics, and techniques that go into a successful raise and the digital marketing strategy that you need in order to get investors and to get the crowd to show up at your campaign. So go down below and join my free course. Just enter your name and email. You'll start getting lessons from me about equity crowdfunding. That link is crowdcrux.com/equity course. Just go to the link, crowdcrux.com/equity course, or click the link down below. In addition, for those of you that are hungry for information, you want to move forward in this area of your life, you want to get this out there sooner, go and check out my book available on Amazon, Equity Crowdfunding Explained. And also I got a version on Audible. If you want to make the best use of your time commuting to work, going to the gym, you want to be learning at the same time, you're on that hustle mode, go and check out my book, Equity Crowdfunding Explained, available on Audible. You can get a free copy if you get a free trial of Audible. And the next on my list, which you also covered in other lists as well on my website, crowdcrux.com, is Netcapital. So Netcapital has been kind of growing, I would say, in their operations when it comes to regulation crowdfunding. They've been hosting a couple of really great campaigns this past year. Netcapital, again, has much more of a vetting process similar to Honeycomb. So you need to be willing to submit an application and to be really a good fit when it comes to their platform. But you can go and you can learn more about this. They've been really growing, like I said, and having more campaigns. So it is kind of an emerging platform, I would say, and one that definitely made my list when it comes to equity crowdfunding websites and platforms. Now, the final that I want to mention on my list is more of a broker dealer, and they specialize in both equity crowdfunding, but also regulation A+ campaigns. And that's going to be Dealmaker. Whether it's Reg CF, Reg A, or Reg D campaigns, I think with other people in the industry as well, Dealmaker has been much more on my radar recently. They've been raising more funding under these regulations, and they've been growing quite quickly as a platform. So we're excited to see their progress, but that's why they make my list as the final in today's list when it comes to equity crowdfunding websites and portals. But but there are so many that I have not gotten the chance to mention in this video. So make sure you go down below and you click the link to my article so that you can learn more about some of the other options that are available to you that go beyond the scope of today's YouTube video. There are a lot of different stages when it comes to doing a public raise using crowdfunding, from test the waters to going live to how long you should be launching to attracting investors and to really making this an exciting opportunity for your fans, your previous customers, or for other people to get involved in. And if you want to do this right, if you want more guidance, first of all, go and check out some of my other YouTube videos. Make sure you subscribe to this channel and give me a thumbs up on this one. But if you really are ready to invest in getting this set up correctly, if you want a strong foundation going into your campaign, if you want to have that hand holding going through this process and learn about some of the best strategies, techniques, and tools, go down below and book a one-on-one intensive coaching call with me. You can use the link down below at crowdcrux.com/coaching when it comes to booking that call. You can fill out that form, tell me more about what you're doing, what your inspiration was, how your company is going, and would love to have more information about what you're trying to do when it comes to equity crowdfunding. So go down below, book that call, and I would say when it comes to my specialty within this niche, it's really going to be on that digital marketing front, though we can also talk about the process, what you got to do in terms of dotting those I's, crossing those T's, and making sure you're doing this right. On a select basis, we will also work long-term when it comes to coaching students or on an executional angle. I hope you enjoyed this video. If nothing else, go out there and soak up information like a sponge. Every single podcast guest, coaching student, and client that I have the privilege of working with has told me that taking the time to really get their hands on high quality education has paid dividends years into the future. We've had people that have launched multiple equity crowdfunding campaigns and on different platforms, because again, at the time of recording this video, you can raise over upwards of 5 million within a 12-month period. So you could technically go from platform to platform, and we have examples of people doing just that. So take some action, get your hands on some good education. Hope you enjoyed this video. My name is Salvador Brigman, and I'll see you next time.